Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. I hope you like that little loop jam. I used the Flammer FF20. I'm not sure when this video is coming out, but I'll be doing a full review of this because it's great fun. You're listening to the tones of the PV Bandit over here, mic'd up with a ribbon mic, and this is my 52 reissue Telecaster. Now, in today's video, what we're going to talk about is a comment I see more often than not anytime I talk about any piece of digital modeling amplifier, and that's that digital modeling stuff will never replace my tube amps. You know, I totally get this train of thought as well. I used to think a bit like this too, but I see these all as different tools to get the job done. So there's a thing about a tube amp or a valve amp that is just amazing to play. You know, you get them up to the volume, they can't be beaten. I don't care how much processing power you've got. If you're at a gig and you've got an amp behind you and you crank it up, it's inspiring. There's an interaction that goes on between your guitar, your fingers, your inspiration, and the tone and responsiveness of the amp that you just can't get through a piece of digital modeling equipment. But you know what? It's all relative to what you're doing. So for me, the Kemper is something that I've been talking about lately because there's a new version of it on the way, the Mark II. It's kind of like a revamped version of the original, basically. It's not a complete overhaul. But the cool thing about tech like the Kempers is if you're a player that plays live and you have your favorite amplifiers and you also record in the studio, there's nothing better than just being able to turn on the Kemper and have your tone come out of it. So for those unfamiliar with how the Kemper works, and I'll reference some other units as well, you mic up your amplifier and that's the sound that you get. Whether you're using it clean, dirty, or with overdrive pedals or whatever, that's what's captured in the Kemper. So it sets itself apart from your standard conventional multi-effects processor pedals, which are still really cool. And we'll get to that in a moment. But if you're someone who's been playing live for years, but you also love to record, the Kemper's the way to go. It saves the whole entire process of having to mic things up every time. Now, does it change the feel slightly? Yeah, there's a slight sort of separation between the feel of an amp in the room behind you up loud than what you'll be able to get captured, but it also saves your ears, right? So again, this is the right tool for the job if you're someone who's recording a lot and you don't have the luxury of having your amplifier in a booth or in a separate room, or you don't want to annoy the neighbors all the time, all that kind of stuff. This is where this new type of tech, or not that new, it's 15 years old, but this is where it really shines. Up next, I want to talk about digital multi-effects processor pedals. These have come such a long way, and these are a different type of tech to that of the Kemper because you're generally just limited to what the unit offers, which is everything. So there's pros and cons associated with that as well. If you're a beginner and you get your hands on sort of a complex multi-effects processor pedal, then there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn about the signal chain. There's a lot to learn about which amplifiers sound a specific way and all that kind of thing. So you're going to really have to dive headfirst into that tech. And this is best suited for someone who doesn't maybe already even have amplifiers at the house, but wants a way that they can record to the computer or practice with headphones. You get every type of amplifier. The biggest difference between multi-effects processor pedals and something like the Kemper is I'm capturing my own tones of my amps or my friend's amps or whatever, whereas a digital multi-effects processor pedal will give you the modeled sounds of those particular amplifiers and effects. And neither is better than the other. It's up to you which one you like the best. For me, having my own tone is really important, which is why I choose the Kemper. But there's nothing to stop me from dialing in my sound or a very close approximation of that using a digital multi-effects processor pedal. You know, the last one that I tested was the Hot Tone Ampero 2 Stomp. And it stunned me how great that thing felt to play. It really did feel amazing. They've come such a long way. You know, about 17, 18 years ago or whatever, I purchased some sort of like multi-effects processor pedal before I got my very first Tube Screamer. And I was living in a world of pain. It was just a horrible experience back in the day. I wish I could remember the model number. Maybe it's on the channel all those years ago. I'm not too sure. But basically, the tech has come so far where if my option isn't to use a Kemper and I'm stuck, in quotations, not that it's a bad thing, using some sort of multi-effects processor pedal to record, no one's going to know. At the end of the day, if you've got a good ear and you understand the kind of tones that you like, you can make it work. Most multi-effects processor pedals now have a global EQ section, so you can kind of dial out any frequencies you don't like at the end of the signal chain. But I tell you what, man, the Hot Tone Ampero 2 Stomp is something I'm considering taking traveling with me to record on the go because the tones are so good. The deluxe reverb sounds like a deluxe reverb. It's the kind of sound that I got with mine. I can just dial it in based on knowing what I like. But again, that can take some time. And if you're less experienced, it can be more frustrating. But are any of these tools designed to ever replace the feel and sound and vibe of a tube amp in a room? No, but if you choose to use them live, you can. Just know they're not as instantly tweakable as an actual amp in the room, and it's going to completely change the sound of the stage. So if you're playing with an acoustic drum kit, bass player with a rig, and you've got some sort of digital unit going into the PA system, you're at the mercy of that PA system, and you're also at the mercy of if the foldback works properly. As a gigging musician for many years, I've tried the Kemper live, I've tried multi-effects processor pedals live, if I can talk, and it wasn't for me. I found that being at the mercy of someone's PA system where the tweeter might not be working or the foldback's not working, it really makes it tough. And for those situations, I prefer a smaller amp. So I think the takeaway here is there's the right and wrong tool for the job. If you're someone doing what I do on YouTube, having something that you can just plug in and record with, like the Kemper or any other unit, makes it easy. When it comes to touring bands, you can go on Instagram and you'll see everyone using Axe FX3s, Kempers, or any of these sort of Helix headrush units. It's the way of the touring artist now because it saves a lot of the stuff that's associated with having to bring in big, heavy tube amps, the movement of them, the carrying of them, and just the stage volume. Now, these are professionals who have pro sound guys, they've got foldbacks and all that kind of stuff. And for those situations, you may actually find that a lot of artists who you think have a lot of amps on stage or what looks like amps on stage are actually plugged into something else. It's just the way things are moving because it retains the sound that the artists are used to, but without all the logistics associated with the larger form factor amplifiers. So times are changing if you are on the road touring professionally, but I think, you know, for the average gigging musician, much like myself, or maybe like you, if you're out there playing or you're hitting the blues jams, of course, you're never going to take one of these type of units to the jam. It's just, you're going to be in a world of pain when compared to a small or your favorite tube amp. So just for some food for thought there. But at the end of the day, I don't think anything out there is designed to necessarily replace anything. I just think there's different tools for the job. Thanks for watching.